What is up, YouTube? What is up, X? What is up, Rumble? Welcome back to the Ryan Matta Show, aka the Bitcoin Report. This is our new YouTube channel that's going to be mainly focused on investing and all things Bitcoin investing. But this is a unique night. I figured I'd just jump on here. I didn't have much going on tonight. And I wanted to just kind of come on and shoot the shit with you guys and say what up to everybody. And hopefully you guys are having a good weekend. Today is Sunday, May 10th. We're going to get into all things these AI data centers, Bitcoin. I wanted to open up the live chat. I don't even know who's still up right now. It's about 1 in the morning Eastern time. And it's a Sunday and Mother's Day's tomorrow. So I'm sure a lot of you guys have plans tomorrow and have a lot going on. So I figured to just jump on here and shoot the shit. If you guys want to jump over here in the live chat and say what up, feel free. We're over mainly on YouTube is where we're going to have the live chat up at. So we're trying to get this new YouTube channel up and started. I got a lot of AI content coming out specifically on Bitcoin and investing. For those of you, we're just gonna be making like short 10, 15-minute videos every day, trying to keep you guys updated. I write a script every morning, send it out to my team, and then my team goes ahead and turns it into an AI version of me. And then we put it out because I don't have time to sit here and record all the videos and go through and edit them and get them posted. It's too much work right now. So as we continue down this rabbit hole, I think we got a really bad economic collapse coming. And these AI data centers are absolutely crazy. And I wanted to kind of present this information kind of to the Bitcoin community to see what you guys are thinking of these AI data centers, because it's really bizarre. Those of us that come from the Bitcoin world, and we're talking about Bitcoin mining and how bad it was for the environment, and Bitcoin needed to switch from proof of work to proof of stake because it was going to be bad for the environment, all these things. And then all of a sudden, these AI data centers are rolling out. And these AI data centers are using these microchips, right? The same microchips that the Bitcoin miners are using. Now, what's really weird is the Bitcoin mining farms have been running for what, 15 years now, consuming massive amounts of energy, massive amounts of compute. Yet we didn't have the Bitcoin miners consuming all of this water. So I'm just kind of curious on why all of a sudden these AI data centers are consuming such massive amounts of water, yet the Bitcoin miners are using theoretically the same exact equipment, and they're not burning through all of this water. It's almost like these AI data centers can most likely run, and these computer equipment, I mean, the Bitcoin miners run at like 120, 130 degrees, 150 degrees. I mean, it's hot. I remember when I first started mining Ethereum, I had just two GPUs running 24/7. Then I ended up getting 2 computers and 3 computers, but these were just normal desktop computers with a couple graphics cards that pretty much ran 24/7. And I could open up my door wall with the screen on, and it could be a blizzard out, maybe 10, 20, 30 degrees outside. And with my door wall wide open in the middle of winter and pretty much every window open in my house or my condo, in the second story condo, I didn't have to have the heat on. I could turn my heat off, go to work, and come home, and it would still be like 75, 80 degrees in my house. I remember the first May day, like the first, or actually it was probably April, the first day of spring, when it first, gets 50 or 60 degrees out. I went to work and I came home from work, and my condo had to have been every bit of 120. It was like I was in a sauna. I couldn't even believe it. I was like, oh, my neighbors would want to kill me because the heat has to be radiating through my walls into their house. There was no way that they weren't going to be able to feel that amount of heat that I had coming from these computers because it was so hot in my condo. So I'm just curious on why all of a sudden we need to have these AI data centers need to have these graphics cards or these processors or these chips liquid cooled. It just doesn't make sense. Now I get when it came to Bitcoining, if you were liquid cooling your CPUs or your GPUs or your ASIC miners, if you will, if you were liquid cooling them, number one, it was a lot more quiet, but it was also, you had the ability to basically like overclock them. They could run even faster, but it wasn't like that much faster. Half the data centers did it, or half the AI mining companies are starting to switch over to liquid cooling. The other ones aren't. So I'm just kind of curious. And their liquid cooling is in some type of submersive chemical material. I forget what it's like, these electrolyte, whatever. And it's not actually water. They're not using this water to liquid cool these things. And I'm just so confused on why these AI data centers are having to consume so much water, considering it's so bad for our environment. So I got a bunch of clips together, and it says the number of data centers are insane. Yeah, Kathy said, she goes, the number of data centers are insane. I'm just based on population. It makes no sense. But if it's for global sharing, then it makes sense. Yeah, if we're going to use these on a global scale, I couldn't agree more. Then maybe there's a need for these. Like, what is it? I think we're up to like 2,300 data centers are currently being built all across America. I've heard upwards of 20,000 are planned. And you see them in every state. And there's like multiple ones in every state. I think, what is it? Colorado alone. We're going to get in that clip. We can just start off with that clip right now because Colorado is insane. I don't know if you guys seen what it was going on in Colorado, but actually let me grab that clip and throw it in here first. And we'll show what has been done. So there's 67 or something like that. I grokked it earlier. 67 data centers that are currently up and running in Colorado. And this lake, I couldn't believe it. Like, I can't believe the citizens in our government, with all the environmentalists out there, all of a sudden now quiet. Like, where's Greta Thunberg when all this is going on? Check out what's happening to this lake in Colorado.
They are not showing you shit about the Colorado water crisis enough on the news. I mean, look at this. That's how low it is. There's literally buoys that do not go over here for the boats, because boats used to be able to be on this. And well, by the way, that's your snowpack. So there's the snowpack for our late summer needs. So I would start planning now, because we're fucked. We're so fucked.
Yeah, to say the least. I think you're completely fucked, as she said. And I don't know how bad this is gonna get, but I got like all this clips. I've been going pretty deep into this. So if you guys want to just buckle up, we can just get right into it today. So my man Eric Montrose says they canceled it. New Jersey town just banned an AI data center. So this is one of the first towns that kind of has fought back with any success. And so this is like the only one. From here, it's going to get a lot worse. Check this clip out.
So most of us paying attention that this is pretty much a losing battle with these AI data centers, but we have to fight anyway. You saw what happened in Box Elder County, right? Hundreds of people showed up to protest against it, but the Box Elder County commissioners just did what they were going to do anyway without public input. We're supposed to be a representative form of government, right? But look what happened in New Jersey. A South Jersey town has banned data centers after residents pushed back for months over fears that artificial intelligence facility could open up in their community. And this is pretty awesome.
They canceled it!
They what?
They canceled it! The people united will never be defeated! The people united will never be defeated! The people united will never be defeated! This is what it looks like when people stand up! We are going to be fighting against data centers everywhere in New Jersey. Each and every one of you again. And it's time to build communities, not data centers. We're here today because there's a proposed data center popping up here in New Brunswick. There are hundreds of concerned residents showing up. People are fired up. They do not want big tech in their community. They do not want these data centers popping up in black and brown majority neighborhoods. It is done like that for a reason. These billionaires and financiers at AMZAC Capital Management know exactly what they're doing because they are doing it everywhere. And stop this data center from moving forward. No! Data center! No! Data center! No! Data center! Energy rates have gone up by 20 to 30%. 70% of that is being caused by data centers built in the PJM region, okay? Water bills, right? New Brunswick residents know water bills doubled in 2025 to handle the infrastructure. It's gonna go up another $10 on water and sewer this year. So this project is gonna raise bills for your energy and for your water.
Yes, they are going to choose another little town to destroy, and AI is coming whether we like it or not. But I love to see the wins. Awesome New Jersey.
Yeah, we like to call those moral victories. Okay, our government normally never allows us to actually obtain or have a moral victory. Last time I think we've seen a real moral victory was Bud Light, and it sent shockwaves through, I guess, these mega corporations that they thought that they were going to cram their you-know-what agenda down our throat. And we finally had enough's enough. But that movement came out of nowhere, and it was sporadic. And I think that we honestly just got lucky. Because it seems like every time that we ever try to plan or set up an event like this, it ends up turning into being a Fed psyop, and we get crushed from it. January 6th probably being the best example. And to this day, I think, it was last week, I think a couple of the January 6ers or some point in the last month, things are the tide kind of started to turn a little bit for the January 6ers. But I don't even think it was because of the work that, necessarily the families did, or the January 6ers, or the amount they suffered, or this administration felt bad. I think the administration was just having such a PR nightmare that week that they literally were like, oh yeah, we'll throw the January 6ers a bone. We only destroyed their life for, the last 5 years and tore apart families and crushed individuals, and multiple of them, you know, took their own lives, and they'll no longer be with us because of our government. They were terrified of going to prison, and they took their own life instead of going to prison, which is just crazy to think about to me, when you could always just leave America. Like, right? It's like, I'm so adamant about like just explaining to people like, hey guys, there's options out here. Like, if it gets so bad here in our country where you think you don't want to live anymore, you have this opportunity to leave this country. You don't have to end your life that way. And look at the amount of people that are having like the medically assisted suicides in Canada. And it's just like, we're in scary times where the government thinks it's okay that if you break up with your girlfriend and your depressed 14-year-old boy, that you should be able to walk into a hospital without your parents' consent and, you know, apply for assisted suicide. It's just crazy to think that that's the world we're living in. I don't know how bad it's going to get, but like, that doesn't seem like we're headed in the right direction as humanity. Let's take a look at what DeSantis is doing, because this seems to be the only politician that I've seen that's done anything good. And I'm not a huge fan of DeSantis, looking back at, you know, the Trump versus DeSantis kind of thing. And like, we were so thinking that DeSantis was going to be the establishment pick, which he was. Obviously, he was backed by Fox News, Sean Hannity. Like, how much different would things have been if DeSantis was in power versus Trump? I don't know. I think we'd kind of be in the same boat. But, you know, James Fishback is out here campaigning and saying that, you know, he wouldn't even be running for Florida governor if Ron DeSantis was able to run again, because he's the greatest governor in the history of Florida. I've heard a lot of people that live in the state of Florida seem to like DeSantis and some of the things that he's done. But is DeSantis the hand grenade that we need? I hope James Fishback is going to be, because I do think that what we're seeing happen in El Salvador, and we're going to get into that in the next clip, that you could easily El Salvador the state of Florida. If you were to get somebody like James Fishback and you were to get somebody like Jake Shields, like Dan Balzerian in Congress, and then let's just say like the next legislative session or the next election cycle in 2028, how many more seats are going to come available in the state of Florida? And then all of a sudden you get somebody like Jake Shields, or you get somebody like Stu Peters, or a handful of America First and America Only patriots to migrate to the state of Florida and register to run as conservatives, America Only, America First conservatives. I think the only way that any state actually doesn't get crushed and destroyed, and parts of America don't get destroyed, are going to be when states succeed from this federal government. Being attached to this pariah state that is our federal government, I think, is going to be the downfall of our country. And I think the only way you're going to see it. So, and it's weird watching like Fuentes come out and a few other people come out and attack Dan Balzerian. It's pretty crazy to see. Like, they are helping Randy Fine get elected over Dan Balzerian. Like, I don't know what mindset or what reality or what universe or what world or why that would ever be a thought that would cross your mind, but it's sowing this divide between our movement, which I think is by design. And it really makes me think that, you know, Fuentes leans more towards the Fed side. But check this out. Barron says, just in, DeSantis signs a law limiting water use by AI data centers during a drought conditions and blocking utility companies from passing on added cost onto residents. Big move. Infrastructure and AI are starting to collide. States are beginning to draw the line on resources use.
This bill, I think, is the first in the country that ensures that the rhetoric we hear is actually reality on the ground. SB 484 also protects Florida's water resources from data centers draining our water resources. I think most people who've been living in Florida for the last 6 months know we haven't gotten a lot of rain compared to what we normally would. We are in a drought situation. We've had to battle a lot of wildfires. There's been a whole host of things that have happened. But clearly, how are you going to say that somehow the water can go to data center when we need the water for our own people and for the core functions of our society? Now, in November, Florida DEP and water management districts updated their rules and policies to ensure data centers of any size have to apply for and be subject to public meetings to be considered for a consumptive use permit in order to tap into Florida's water resources. And that's something that is huge protection to you as an individual, as well as to your communities. We understood that people wanted protection against having their rates raised as a result of these data centers, and so we work with the legislature to be able to get the legislation that I'm going to sign here today, which is Florida Senate Bill 484. What it does is it protects consumers from footing the bill for any hyperscale data center in the state of Florida. The bill also revises Florida law regarding the regulation of large-scale data centers and other large electricity users. So specifically, it ensures that local governments maintain the authority to exercise the powers and responsibilities for comprehensive planning and land development regulation for large load customers, including the data center. When they were doing the bill to not allow the state to touch any of the AI stuff last year that failed in the U.S. Senate, one of the reasons they wanted to do it, they wanted to override local zoning and hotline these data centers in wherever the companies wanted to put them. So just imagine, I mean, they would do it and you could live here and not have any way to say that you don't want to do it. It would just be a decision that the company would unilaterally make for how they're using the land. I think a lot of people wouldn't want that. So this makes sure that local governments are ultimately in control about how their communities are developing vis-a-vis these hyperscale data centers. It also includes critical definitions relating to large-scale data centers so that costs are not permitted to be passed on to consumers. Utilities have to develop minimum large load tariff requirements for public electric utilities to ensure that Floridians are protected. You should not, as a hardworking Floridian, have to subsidize some of the wealthiest companies in the history of humanity. That does not work.
I really like what DeSantis has going on there. You know, I like where he's going with it. I like the states having a little bit of power. But if you go into these counties, even where these, John Brack says there is no political solution. There is none. There is absolutely none. And it's crazy to think about, you know, because I keep telling everybody that, like, when I go to El Salvador and I step off the flight, I don't even actually, now that I know what I'm stepping into, it's like I get this euphoric feeling before I even, like, as I'm leaving America and my flight's taken off and I'm headed to Atlanta. But like every step closer to El Salvador, I get more excited about the experience that I'm about to have. It's big because the second I step off that plane in El Salvador, every worry I have, the constant need to feel like I need to be on my phone doom scrolling because I'm worried about, I don't know, is my government creating the next hurricane? Is my government about to create, you know, the 15th once in a century storm? Are we about to get hit with directed energy weapons? Is our government about to bomb Iran? Like, it's just constant negativity. And like, I feel like I'm attached to my screen because if I'm not, I feel like, I don't know, something crazy is about to happen and I'm not going to be aware of it. And it's going to be, you know, like a life altering decision. I step off the plane in El Salvador. I'm greeted by everybody that's literally, their current day is pretty much better than the day before. Because in that country, every day your government, they've eradicated all the corruption. So your government's not stealing from you. So these people, the El Salvadorians, like to work. They want to keep their job. As a politician, your sole purpose is to make life better for the citizens that you represent. And because they've eradicated all the corruption, and there is a little bit of like notoriety within the government in these positions, like, you know, like the director of commerce, the director of tourism, the director, and they have weird different names for it, but I'm just giving you guys examples. It's like, it's a really small country. So when these people are out at dinner, like we'll go out and have lunch at a restaurant, you'll see the director of tourism, or you'll see the person of this, or the fiscal general, or the general of this. And so like the citizens are constantly interacting with the politicians. So they see them in public every day. And it's like the better they're making life for the citizens, the more like the citizens elevate these people. And they talk so well about their politicians because the politicians make life better. And the country's small, so they're forced to interact with their politicians. There's no like, I feel like in Washington, D.C., they have like these elite places and they have inside our government and Congress and backdoor deals. And they have the ability to kind of go about their day, but kind of stay hidden from the public, if you will, versus the politicians in El Salvador. Like if they want to go get lunch, they're getting lunch where everybody else is getting lunch. There's no real backdoor secret clubs and things like that in El Salvador. So it's really cool. And then you look at what we're doing here in America. Our roads are falling apart. Our bridges are falling apart. You would think that our government would be like, oh, hey, AI data center. You want to put a data center in Colorado? Great. You're fixing the bridges. You're fixing the roads. We know you guys are going to make billions, if not trillions of dollars. So in return, you're building 5 private schools. And now every single citizen that grows up for the next 20, 30, 50 years in this community and they want to live within 50 miles of your data center, you're going to build a private school. You're going to fund the private school. You're going to pay for the teachers and the education for all of the children in that private school. So all of these people that live within a 50-mile radius have some type of perk for their family outside of realizing that like they're going to have to move out of the state because they don't want to live within 50 miles of your cancer center. And then that's what we're kind of seeing. So you go from that, and then I just look what President Bukele's done in such a short period of time. I mean, look at how beautiful he's making this country, new roads, new infrastructure, versus what our government's doing. I just don't understand why we're not doing what he's doing. He built the blueprint. He showed us that it worked. All we have to do is replicate it. And that's what I'm talking about right there. It's just like, that was the deadliest country in the world. Roads and abandoned, gangs everywhere. And now it's the most beautiful country in Latin America, and soon to be, like, literally, it's poised to be the Singapore of the West. He built this new international airport, which is on the east side of the country. They call it the forgotten side of the country. Had like one beach resort, one hotel, a few gas stations. And there was like basically a long stretch of road that went, you had to drive on basically an hour to get to the nearest gas station or the nearest city. It was completely uninhabited because there was no infrastructure. There was no roads. There was no real way for people to travel there. Well, Bukele's built a new airport. It's going to be the international hub of Honduras and I forget the other country, Honduras, Ecuador, whatever, Guatemala, maybe. There's going to be a new international hub down there. And Bukele built all the infrastructure. It's taken him basically 2 years to build all the infrastructure. They just broke ground in the airport. And we already have Avianca and a couple other airlines already committing to doing flights out of that airport in the next 12 to 16 months or something like that. It has the best real estate in the entire country of El Salvador. There's 3 of the world's best surfing beaches that are located in that part of El Salvador, and it's completely uninhabited. And you can get real estate over there right now, not as cheap as you could 2 years ago, but you can still get it for, you can pick up acres of land for probably $5,000 to $10,000, depending on where you want it and where it's located. Obviously, something closer to the airport will be a little bit more. Obviously, oceanfront real estate is already crazy, probably $200,000 an acre. But something within a 10-minute drive of the ocean, you could probably get for $5,000 to $10,000 an acre. And you guys could buy that right now and just sit on it. That's what I'm saying. I'm talking about El Salvador, not necessarily because I want everybody to move there, but we as Americans, don't have the ability to enter the real estate market for probably under 100,000. Can you even get an acre of land for less than 50,000 right now? I don't know many places, maybe New Mexico, these parts of Arizona where it's literally 117 degrees. I was driving through one part of New Mexico or one part of Arizona a couple summers ago when we were dealing with the invasion, and it was 117 degrees during the day. And at 2 or 3 in the morning, it was still 103 degrees out. I didn't know how people live there. So maybe in some of those areas, you might be able to get some acreage for fairly cheap, but nothing's alive there. You can get some beautiful, you can get a mountaintop villa, probably 5 acres in parts of El Salvador right now for probably 15 or 20 grand. You could probably literally get 5 acres and then just sit on it. You might not even be able to get to it because you'd have to put a road in to get up the mountain, maybe get up there with a 4x4 or a dirt bike or whatever. But 5 or 10 years from now, that'll be some prime real estate, that's for sure, because the entire country is going to get developed. So El Salvador in size, in retrospect, is 28 times larger than Singapore. El Salvador has a population right now of 6 million. El Salvador has a population of 6 million. So theoretically, El Salvador could grow 28 times in scale. That's how much resources and land there is there. So the opportunities are monumental. And I go from that to this, and it just kind of makes me feel eerie, right? Now, these AI data centers are getting a little bit more sketchy because this is one of those rabbit holes where the more you start to dig into these AI data centers and the more you start to ask questions about why so many, why so big, why do we need all of this compute power? Is it really is it a bunch of dorks on the internet trying to put Ted Cruz in an Israel bikini? Is that really why we need all of these AI data centers? Who's going to be using, what are these AI data centers really going to be used for? Because whatever they're telling us just is not adding up, right? So Noah B. Price says, you are not ready for this rabbit hole. This is a good one. AI data centers are guzzling billions of gallons of water to cool their servers. But here's the mind blower. They are running it through reverse osmosis, stripping minerals plus memory, creating dead null water that forgets everything. Your body is 60% water. Thoughts, emotions, consciousness itself, all tied to water's structure. See emotion crystals reacting to words, love, hate. And they literally erasing the alkaline or acidic records of life while building godlike AI. One chat GPT convo equals half a bottle of water evaporated forever. Watch till the end. It gets even crazier. So this actual write-up by Noah was literally like a mile long, so I just took a screenshot of it. I'm going to let this video play. If you guys haven't seen this one, do me a favor, hit that like button and buckle up.
Hey, yo, have you seen this?
This bro caught my last video and decided to call me ignorant because I asked the question why data centers can't just use reverse osmosis to create more water. Honey, if you only knew how right I actually was. You're playing checkers with the official science and I'm out here trying to find the source code. Let's talk about these millions of gallons of water that they pull every single day. So the textbook answer is that they need it for what's called evaporative cooling to stop the scaling. And that's that crusty white mineral buildup that's going to choke the pipes. But why do they even need that much cooling? That's because the data centers aren't just storing your cloud photos. They're like the motherboards for this entire reality, and they're hardwired, like plugged in directly to the sun planet. Yeah, you heard me. That star in the sky, it's a high voltage reflective sphere. When you plug a planetary power core into a localized grid, the heat isn't just hot, it's this molecular meltdown. And this is where the RO comes in. They're not just filtering water, they're performing a biological data wipe. So by forcing millions of gallons through those membranes, they strip the water of its memory, if you will, and its minerals, because minerals act like tiny antennas that would pick up the sunflux raw frequency and fry the hardware. They're creating null water. Now, that isn't about consuming a resource, I guess. It's about a multiplication loop. They take that purified empty liquid and cycle it at such a high velocity that it creates a thermal vacuum. So, I mean, you can call me ignorant if it helps you sleep. But while you're worrying about the plumbing, I'm watching them scrub the atoms of the planet just to keep the skylamp from flickering. I really didn't trip over my words per se, I just bypassed your firewall. And if you guys really want to trip out, next time the sun is out, look at the sun, close your eyes, and tell me what you see.
After watching that video, I was on a 2-day hiatus, binge researching everything I could on water and memory. And guess what ChatGPT told me? That there's no such thing as water holding memory at all. That it's unprovable, that it can't be tested. We all know by now that the human body is comprised of 40 to 60% water. And we, the human beings, have thoughts and emotions and everything else that exists in our own biofield. Everything that exists in our biofield is our consciousness. What are the odds that you go to convey all the information that was presented in that video, go to ChatGPT, only for ChatGPT to come back and say, it's all fringe, it's all conspiracy, it's all cap. There's no such thing as water holding memory. Yeah,
Here is water memory. You can do this experiment yourself just by showing an image to water for around 30 seconds and then freezing the water, and you will see a reflection of the image you showed it. This proves that water holds memory. It has consciousness. This is because water can change its structure depending on the vibrations it comes into contact with. This is where things start to get a bit crazy with words. Placing the word schizophrenia in water and then freezing it shows this image of a double-faced person. This proves that water is intelligent and is reacting to vibrations of the words. Now that you understand this concept, what do you think happens when you are drinking Monster Energy, or with cans which imprinted the word of death? You are drinking crystallized water with the imprinted vibration of death. You are filling 70% of your body, which is water, with the vibration of death. Tap water is mixed with sewage and all sorts of toxins inside of these facilities. Although they may remove some of the toxins from the water, the crystallized vibration of this water is still very bad. The ancients didn't just build build beautiful water fountains for no reason. They had a purpose of moving the water so that it restructures the vibration of the water. Water is basically the internet of the earth. It has consciousness and intelligence.
This is just a little nudge within me, but my question is this. Since we are comprised mainly of water, and inside of the water, we are consciousness, and so is the water within us. And they're trying to strip the very memory out of water, which is basically the memory out of creation, which is us, the walking, talking version of Mother Nature. Does this mean that they're trying to strip the memory from all consciousness of humanity? In the sense where they're trying to create a clean hard drive wipe of our minds and everything that we know, and erase everything that's within our consciousness to make us into a node for the machine, for the AI, stripping us of our individuality, of our own identity, and everything else that we are, for the sole purpose of uploading our consciousness into the Internet of Things? Am I reaching? What do you think? Spam your thoughts in the comments below.
You know, these people might be onto something. You know, sometimes it's like every time we start going down these rabbit holes and you think you're crazy, you know, and you start, you know, really like, you're like, am I really, we're going to go down this rabbit hole? You're like, yeah, I'm going to go down it. And you start to go down it like it's like the, you know, the flat, you know what? I can't even say it on here. I'll probably get my video knocked off. But the flat earth rabbit hole, screw it. We're not even monetized over here anyways. So the, you know, you start going down some of these rabbit holes, and like the flat earth, right? I was the type of person who's like, I'm not doing it. Like, there's no way we're not going down the flat earth rabbit hole. I don't care even if it is flat. Like, I'm not gonna, we're not going down that rabbit hole. Right. And then Flat Earth Dave was the guy who owns the Flat Earth Clock app over on the App Store. So if you just type in FE Clock, you can pull it up. You can use promo code MATA, if you will. I don't think it'll get you any discount, but there's like a leaderboard thing, and I'm always trying to compete to rank up the leaderboard. It's like $10 a month or $10 a year, and you get access to this app. And now when you're trying to research flat earth, it's probably one of the most censored topics that's still to this day on the internet. Like, they try actively very hard to prevent you from learning anything about the flat earth. So Dave's built an app where he's correlated all of the YouTube videos, all the TikTok videos that haven't been deplatformed. So like, if you have a question about gravity, you have a question about how do planes work or gyroscopes or whatever the case may be, you just search it in the app and it booms, it pulls you up a list of like all of the best videos. So this guy wanted to come on my podcast when I was doing my show on LFA TV. And I was like, no, bro, I'm not bringing you on. No, bro, I'm not bringing you on. Like, no, bro, I'm not bringing you on. So come on. And then finally one day he reached out and he's like, I hear you're into Bitcoin. I'm like, yeah, I keep all my wealth, like 100% of my wealth in Bitcoin. He's like, how about this? Bitcoin was like $33,000 at the time. He goes, I'll give you 3 Bitcoin. You bring me on your show and you just prove one fact about what they taught you in school. Just one, whether it's space, NASA, Earth, gravity. You just can prove one fact about what they taught us. And he goes, I'll give you 3 Bitcoin. No strings attached. I'm like, oh, it'll be the easiest $100,000 I ever made. This dude's a sucker, right? I'm going to catch him in a gotcha moment. Well, this guy's been doing this for 2 years, so he's pretty much been caught in every gotcha moment that anybody can ever think of. And I wasn't more intelligent than the, you know, last 100 men that came before me. And sure as shit, after like 30 minutes, I was just like, dude, there's no way. We didn't go to space. The Earth isn't a ball. I'm not traveling through space. Satellites aren't orbiting the sun, are orbiting the Earth while the Earth's spinning at the Earth's spinning at like 12,000 miles per hour while orbiting the sun at 17,000 miles per hour. While we got 32,000 plus satellites that are all orbiting the Earth while the Earth's spinning, but yet some are stationary and some aren't. And this all happens while like 100,000 asteroids a day burn through the atmosphere. But they burn up through the atmosphere before they hit the Earth. So we don't see all 100,000 asteroids that they tell us because we got this great ozone layer that eats them up, right? Well, the satellites are beyond the ozone layer, and most of them don't have propulsion systems. So these objects that don't have propulsion systems that are somehow orbiting the Earth are somehow dodging these 100,000 asteroids coming in. And then you get into the whole solar eclipse thing, and I just can't wrap my head around why we just went to the moon, and you know, NASA didn't think like, hey, let's deploy a camera up here. Let's just drop it off since we're going around the moon, right? Let's deploy a camera out here and let it sit stationary here. So that way, the next time there's a solar eclipse, we can maybe film the sun and the moon from a different angle. Like, that would be science, right? I mean, you go to the doctors and they stick a camera up your ass to film like your colonoscopy. You'd think they'd at least have a couple cameras in space that film a few different angles of a solar eclipse, right? But that wasn't the case. And then watching Joe Biden have a meltdown when Congress was going to cut like $1 billion from NASA funding. Like, we couldn't send $751 to the families of Maui fires, but we are going to go and cut $1 billion from, but but we couldn't send them $750, but we had to absolutely give NASA all $26 billion that they wanted. And that's when I just realized, like, NASA's not, they're not going to space. NASA's a giant front organization, money laundering arm of our intelligence agencies. And I can only imagine what they've been building in these massive underground military bases with a $26 billion a year budget. Like, our government's doing some real crazy shit out there, and they got a lot of money. And we, the tax-paying slaves, can't even keep a roof over our kids' head. And it's going to get worse. Point in case, check this one out. So my man, Mr. Red Pills, goes by Jaka Q Army or Joka Q Army. And he says, BlackRock has purchased the electric grid in the name of mass building the AI data centers. I feel bad for the citizens of Ohio and Illinois, I believe this is. Check this out.
BlackRock has officially bought our electric grid. A private-owned company now owns all of our electric grid in Indiana and Ohio in the name of mass producing AI data centers. If you are not in Indiana and don't know how hard we've been fighting data centers and our rising energy costs, our bills went up about $400 just in the last 2 months. And now that's expected to get even worse as BlackRock has just secured a $33 billion deal acquiring AES, which is the power company responsible for all of the electricity in Indiana and Ohio. I won't explain to you why a private equity company being able to dictate public energy, why it's an issue, but let's talk about how we know our energy costs are now being privatized and basically going to be used for politics and to, I don't know, drive our fucking prices up even more. BlackRock's investment as it comes to AI is privatizing energy so that they can supply and drain neighboring cities and now all of Indiana just so they can divert power grid supply to AI data centers. BlackRock has a monopoly on almost every fucking thing. And the fact that a deal going through that is going to allow them to divert energy from regular people to mass produce AI data centers while literally raising our prices and reducing accountability is a crime. This is criminal. Anna is being pimped out in the name of our governor. And now that they have acquired all of our wind farms, which is how we get our energy, we are now going to have a skyrocketing bill and BlackRock is going to contribute to destroying our environment with AI data centers for a fucking chat GPT prompt on how much water is being used just to supply it. I don't understand how people are okay with this, but this is very fucking bad. And if it's starting here, it will come to you.
I'm glad to finally see, like, the average person is just getting so fed up, right? Before it was just a handful of us that paid attention to politics, but the government's forced everybody to pay attention to politics because it's literally affecting every aspect of your life. Like, you can't go about your life now and it not affect you. And John, my man over here, says, I don't think there was more than 271K of them that died in the Mr. Hulla hoax over here, you know? And I'm like, yeah, I don't think it was 271K either. I think it was maybe 71K at best. He goes, that's still pretty high. We can do better. And my man Clinton over here says, the flat earth stuff, it still doesn't make sense to me, only because the shape of the magnetic fields. Is it more of a torus shape? You know, the magnetic field things, think about this. There is something so powerful at the North Pole that no matter where you are on this planet, it attracts your compass north, right? You always know where your true north is with a compass. But you'd think when you get closer to the South Pole that the compass would pull you south, right? But it doesn't. So I don't really understand how the magnetic fields work. But I do kind of understand a little bit about the, you know, if you watch some of these flat earth documentaries, the one Level with Me is probably one of my favorites. And one of the gentlemen in there, he does this test. He creates this machine that suspends the positive and negative electrostatic charge. And I'm not smart like these guys that explain this stuff, so I'm just going to give you my interpretation of it. But he says that everything has a positive and negative electrostatic charge, which completely makes sense, right? it's not the size or the mass of an object or gravity that's pulling you down. You know, Einstein's theory of relativity was always just a theory. Even like the most advanced AI computers can't figure it out today. So, and then you think about this, our government claims that they have this anti-gravity technology. Okay, well, if you've figured out how to create anti-gravity technology, that theoretically means you reverse engineered gravity. And if you reverse engineered gravity to create an anti-gravity device, or if you now have this anti-gravity technology, you should be able to reverse engineer anti-gravity and solve the equation for gravity. But yet we haven't been able to do that. But my man creates this machine and he claims that every object has a positive and negative electrostatic charge. And if you can suspend the positive and negative electrostatic charge, you can make something float. And he can adjust these knobs and he can make a penny float. He can make a feather float. And he's got this machine and it literally makes objects levitate. Now, according to the powers that be or some conspiracy theorists out there, our government has created basically a specific type of paint, and this paint can be charged. And when this paint is charged, it suspends the positive and negative electrostatic charge of any object. And the theory is that when you're in a car and you're going in a car and you slam on your brakes, the momentum will basically, if you go from 150 to 0 in a second, you're going through the windshield of your car. Your car is getting completely crushed, whatever the case may be. Because as soon as that thing stops instantly, the force is propelling you forward. Now, if I have an object and I suspend positive and negative electrostatic charge of this object, and I encompass everything inside that is also suspended, as I'm moving this object through space, I don't need propulsion to move forward because there's no resistance. I can basically travel at lightning speeds. And then when I go to stop, there's no momentum stopping. So that's why we have these crafts, which our military has filmed, moving at 500 knots per second underwater. Now, you've pretty much heard almost every politician openly admit to the speed of these crafts. It was talked about on Rogan with Tucker Carlson, that Tim Buchet, he talks about it all the time. And why does that mean anything? Well, number one, because it defies our laws of physics. We as men don't know how to create technology or even explain the technology that we filmed, that our military has documented on high-end cameras, on high-end military equipment, these crafts moving at 500 knots per second underwater. You can think of knots per second fairly close to miles per hour. And that means that if I shot you underwater with a 357 Magnum and you were 12 feet away from me, you could catch the bullet if it even hits you because there's no continued propulsion system propelling that bullet forward. Once that gunpowder and that bullet leave the gun, the barrel of the gun, there's no continued propulsion. There's no momentum pushing that bullet forward, but there is the resistance of the water exponentially slowing it down every inch that it travels. If you're 12 feet away, you can probably catch that bullet underwater if it'll even hit you. These crafts are moving at 500 miles per second underwater or miles per hour underwater. Insane speeds. And when they go to enter the water, if you've seen that one video where that craft is like, it's like a submarine pops up and all of a sudden this ship realizes that there's a submarine right there and it's like, and it takes off underwater so fast, it's crazy. And you see kind of like a splash, but you don't see a splash like you would think of something traveling at 500 miles per hour per second, making a splash. You would think it would be like a tsunami wave, but it's weird. It's a little bit of a wave. It's almost like that it's when it goes to hit the water, that it's not actually hitting the water and forcing the water. It's almost like the water is separating from, like, the craft has the ability to move the water out of its way and it just continues down. And that would make sense how these crafts are able to go so far underwater. You know, there's like a vast majority of this earth we haven't even explored because of most of it's underwater. I don't know. These are some rabbit holes where Flat Earth Dave will tell you, he's like, if you really want to go down the flat earth rabbit hole and you're going to do it with an open mind, he's like, just buckle up and enjoy the ride because we don't know what this earth is. We don't know what it's not. We don't know really much of any of this. We just know that our government's absolutely lying to us and we'd like the opportunity to go to Antarctica and prove it. And they won't even let you get within 200 nautical miles of Antarctica, or it's the South Pole, or what? It's one of the poles that you're not able to get within 200 miles of. My theory is that the ice wall, when they call it the Arctic Circle, right? Like, I don't think our whoever saw a map was like, we're going to call it the Arctic Circle, and you look at it on a map and there's nothing circle about it. But if you look at it on a flat Earth map, The Arctic Circle is actually a circle ice wall that basically encompasses all of our countries. That's why we're like kind of with a race with Russia and China. There's this huge fight and deal over what's going on in Antarctica, and every country is kind of chomping at the bit to like secure their portion of it. Makes sense why when you see these SpaceX rockets that are claiming to go to space, or you see NASA going to space, that they're not actually going to space. They all curve. I think there's an ice wall. I think there's land behind the ice wall. I think Mars is a continent behind the ice wall. And I think Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and these billionaires are creating the first basically travel system that we can make it there. Like, I don't think we have flights and planes that we can fly on a tank of gas, or a one plane full of gas that can get from, let's just say New York to Mars or the next continent over past the ice wall. I think that it's quite a far distance, and I think that you need new types of technology to get there. I also think that's why, Elon Musk and the boring technology, maybe they're boring tunnels all the way over there. And maybe that Elon's just the smartest man in the world, and he created SpaceX, that would be the travel system. Then you need a communication system, so we built Starlink. And then if you ever wanted to build a tunnel system, you'd need some type of system to do that, which would be boring. And I just find it hard to believe that one man has created that much technology. And then if you talk about X and the information and the social media and AI and robots, it's like, I don't know. Elon Musk seems to be far ahead of the curve, if you will. And that's kind of just my wild conspiracy theories. I don't even know how we got going down that rabbit hole, but yeah, no G-forces. I don't see much evidence for flat Earth, but I'm pretty agnostic on the issue. I definitely don't trust NASA or science. I'm with you, man. I have no idea what I'm even talking about. When it comes to this stuff, there's a lot of experts out there that have put a lot of great documentaries together on it. And every time I watch one, I'm more in tune after the Epstein files, after the JFK, after the Charlie Kirk, after what we saw with thinking that Trump was going to be our savior. And this guy was going to drain the swamp and round up all of these political politicians that were corrupt and stealing our money. And he just came in and we didn't get any of it. We got none of that. And watching the Epstein cover up, and then watching what's taking place really in Gaza, and the power that, who our greatest ally has over not just America, it seems like every country. It's like even countries that have nothing to do and don't really depend on them and don't really need them for technology and information. It's like these countries are terrified to even say that they don't have a right to defend themselves. And I'm just like watching this going, how did we get here, guys? And you would think that I would have thought that Russia or China or one of these other countries would have finally stepped up and said, hey, enough's enough. We know that in a war simulation, we've war gamed it out. Our Pentagon has, I think 12 or 15 times now. And every single war game simulation where we get into a kinetic war with China, we have a perfect record. And that record is we lose every time. China knows that they will blow us out of the water. We know that China will blow us out of the water. But yet, China has every opportunity right now to stop what's going on over there in Gaza, and they haven't. And the only logical conclusion I come to is if your enemy's killing himself, would you really want to step in and intervene, or would you just let him finish the job? Finishing that job might come with a lot of, innocent casualties, but they're not your casualties. It's not your job to stop it. And if it allows your enemy to destroy itself without you going to war with it and killing your own citizens, well, you got to do what's best for your own citizens. And it seems like that's what the rest of the world's doing. They're just standing by and watching us destroy ourselves. That's why when they try to convince us that there's going to be some sleeper cells over here, and Iran or Al Qaeda or somebody's going to come over and carry out some attacks on U.S. soil, I'm like, why would they, guys? We're slow bleeding right now. We're frogs in a boiling pot. We're $40 trillion in debt. We're building AI data centers across our entire country, which are going to suck every last ounce of life out of our country. I mean, the water is the lifeline that we got here. Without it, we have nothing. And when these AI data centers get so big and so powerful, do you think they're just going to one day just go, oh yeah, sorry, we destroyed all your water. Well, whoops, we're going to stop right now. No, I think they're going to keep consuming it and consuming it. And I don't think we're going to ever have rights to clean drinking water, not for much longer anyways. We can keep going down these rabbit holes. Let's pull up another tweet from my man, Mr. Jaka Q Army. He says, AI data centers are out and the people have spoken. So this is the one that they ran out of town. We had kind of covered this earlier. Dude, look at that asshole. Like, you're coming to a poor little village town and you're going to show up in your $150,000 Lexus and try to convince the people that they need to allow you to build a data center that's going to destroy their livelihood in their town and their water and poison their children with your cancer. And you show up in a $150,000 Lexus. I would have kicked that asshole out of my state too. And they ran him out of town. You know? So, you know, that's a little bit of a moral victory. But I almost think that that's where this inevitably ends. I almost think that you're going to start to see Trump deploying our military to these AI data centers. They will deem them after the first one burns, and they'll probably go find some old data center that you know, Larry Silverstein takes out a big insurance policy for a couple $1 billion a few days before the fire magically starts. And they'll send a couple of Mossad operatives in there to burn the data center down. And then after they do that, the other ones will all get deemed a national security threat. And then next thing you know, you're going to have the National Guard and the U.S. military in your backyard along with these data centers. And then anytime they need to, well, the National Guard's already in there. So if you unruly tax-paying peasants decide to get out of line or start to organize, well, we're just sending the military and we'll just crush you like we did Ruby Ridge or we did Waco. And I feel like that's the only inevitable place where this ends, because I don't think the American people are going to sit here for the next 2 years and allow these mega corporations and these mega data centers to continue to poison their children. The word's already getting out. People don't want these things. We don't see the benefit in them. We don't understand why they're being forced upon us. And I keep asking the question is like, anytime there was any big factory and it was profitable, well, they just move the automotive industries over to the Philippines and they move all these things over to these other countries. Why wouldn't they have been focused on, I don't know, like bringing the automotive industry back here, bringing like these 3D printed homes, bringing any technology that would seem to like lower house prices, make things more affordable for the American people, benefit our lives, some type of mass production of some type of new technology like these zero gravity devices that could change the world, some of these advanced medical beds that basically cure every disease when you lay in them for 15 minutes. There's a lot of technology out there that I feel like America could have been on the forefront of, and we could have started a technology revolution here and employed millions of Americans and brought up the middle class and did all these things. And instead we're bringing in these AI data centers. But if it was about profits and money and these corporations knew it, these corporations would have just built them in the Philippines. They would have built them in China or Malaysia or any of these other third world countries where they took all of the automotive jobs to, where they took all the manufacturing jobs to. But like these toxic, deadly, weird ass AI data centers are all coming being built here in America. It just doesn't make sense to me, guys. It's not adding up. I don't know. Yeah, then mix in the 5G. The data centers push reminds me of the 5G infrastructure. Showed up out of nowhere. We don't really know why we need it. Yeah, what was wrong with 4G? I ask people that all the time. Like, I guess 5G maybe got a little bit faster on your phone, but I don't ever remember having to wait too long to upload a video to Facebook. Even back when we had 3G. Like seems like it takes just as long as it does now. Like if I upload a 10-minute video to X, it takes a couple minutes. And it doesn't really matter if I'm in my home and I'm connected to Wi-Fi or if I'm on cellular, or I go down to countries like El Salvador and I literally have 4G because they don't have 5G in those areas. I don't notice a drastic difference in my upload speed. So like, what is 5G? Why am I benefiting from it? Are there real speed benefits to it? I don't know. I can't tell why we use it. But all I know is I don't trust it. And I feel like it's going to be weaponized against us one of these days. Now, Mario Nafal says, New Jersey residents. Oh, yeah, we've seen that one already. We already covered that one. Let's jump over to the next clip. So this one's by Stern Drew. And he goes by Stern Drew Crypto over on X. And he says, Zuckerberg's AI data centers are destroying America homes. Mark Zuckerberg didn't just build a data center in Georgia. He dropped a massive AI surveillance fortress hundreds of yards from regular families' homes. Sinks are dry, toilets won't refill, homes shake nonstop like endless earthquakes, power outages hit constantly while Zuck servers guzzle the entire grid. This isn't progress. This is elite warfare on everyday Americans. Yes, it sure is.
This is our cold water pressure in the kitchen. This is where I fill up water for storage. Those are the things we have to fill up to flush the toilets.
So you can see the sediment from the data center. Wow, and that's just from the water coming out of your faucet?
Yeah. And this is what's in all the pipes.
Just the well itself is probably $20,000, and that's not counting any of the
All the
faucets.
replacement
Yeah.
of the fixtures and
That's
faucets
just
and
the well.
toilets and the lines that come underneath the house. It's overwhelming because you really feel like you are up against this huge wall that you can't penetrate. There's nothing that you can do, and they don't care.
I'm here in Mansfield, Georgia, driving by Meta's new 2 million square foot data center facility. Facilities like this are being used to power things like ChatGPT and other AI tools that are becoming integrated into our daily life.
Data centers, going to be a very hot item.
This entire supercomputer is built to power Grok.
We see data centers as the most exciting asset class.
Meta is building a 2 gigawatt plus data center that is so large it would cover a significant part of Manhattan.
But data centers come with big costs, from light and noise pollution to the environmental impacts to the potential rising costs of energy bills. These facilities put extraordinary demand on the power grid and require entirely new infrastructure.
They should be responsible for that, not us.
Search the internet for profits that Meta has made, Amazon, Microsoft. They can afford to pay for their own generation.
We came to Georgia to ask two questions. What's the true cost of the AI revolution, and who should be paying for it?
Your house is here, and the data center is right there.
It's less than 400 yards.
Beverly and Jeff Morris bought their home an hour's drive from downtown Atlanta in 2016, but their roots in the community run much deeper.
Being in the country has always just been my peace and my therapy. When we found this place, we decided that this was it. It was perfect.
I was actually raised probably 5 miles from here.
Looks like we lost audio at the end of that, but yeah, DRDR 07 or 07 says the American people are a slave class now that are going to be made redundant under the technocrats' world with AI. Yeah, all of the slave jobs that these elites needed you to do, right? They're probably always going to need. I don't even know if they're always going to need maids anymore. I really don't. I mean, and getting an AI robot that'll do your dishes, clean your house, sweep up, like us peasants, they don't need us anymore. Or at the very least, this is the last generation of us that they'll need. And I think that's why they're kind of dumbing down. Like, you have to dumb down a population to convince a population that when a 14-year-old boy breaks up with his girlfriend and he's heartbroken and he wants to take his life, that he should be able to go into a medical facility and get assisted suicide. Or maybe, you break up with your girlfriend at 18 and you moved out of home and your mom won't take you back in and your girlfriend leaves you and you guys got to split up and you can't afford the bills anymore. So you end up homeless on the streets. And instead of figuring out an avenue to help this young man get back on his feet, their solution is just, well, go see a doctor and just take your life. And like, what is it? I forget the name, the abbreviation for whatever they're doing in Canada, but it's like the number one leading cause of death right now in Canada is medically assisted suicide by your government. And they allow it to happen for all ages of people. And then here in America, when your government in California can take your child from you because you don't agree to address it by the proper pronouns, and they're going to perform or allow your child to perform life-altering surgery that's going to result in your child being chemically castrated for all of eternity, theoretically eliminating your bloodline from ever having the ability to reproduce or continue, that's not freedom, guys. That's like beyond slavery. That's like sick. That's so sick. Even like the slaves didn't have that, right? Even the kids of slaves were probably treated better than our government treats your children today. And I don't know why. I just can't justify why anybody would want to live like that. And I say that because El Salvador has turned into the number 2. I think it's working on becoming number 1 most popular tourist destination in the world, where they are attracting more tourists from more countries and continents than pretty much anywhere else on earth. I think probably Dubai is probably number one. Give El Salvador 5 years, and man, it's such a bizarre feeling. And I just can't convince myself, like, I'm poor. I live in a trailer park, right? I'm not that well spoken. I'm not this Nick Fuentes or, any of these Charlie Kirk or Candace Owens or these people that have the ability to articulate things. And I'm just some dude with a cutoff hoodie who shitposts and has the ability to make really good content when it comes to documentary films and short form engaging content and shit like that. But, I could never go up against Nick Fuentes in a debate on much of anything, maybe outside of Bitcoin and a few other topics. But I don't see the average person who's been successful. And let's just say you hit a few good strides. You got, you started a business, you went to school, you made a bunch of money, you bought some Bitcoin. Bitcoin went up a lot, and your 250,000 turned into, I don't know, 4 or 5 million. You're sitting really comfortably right now. And you're looking at what's going on in America. How many people in this live chat, if you had $2 million or $1 million in your pocket right now or your bank account, would you choose to stay in America and ride this out? I don't think many would. I think 9 out of 10 people, if given $1 million right now and the opportunity to leave and start over in a country like El Salvador, I think 9 out of 10 would do it. What about you guys? How many we got in the live chat? Probably only got 5 or 10 or 20 people over here in the live chat, but drop a 1 in the comments as yes, I would go. I would leave America if given $1 million and a chance to start over. I think most of us would. And that's why I was a bit advocate for when Trump was doing these gold visas. I was saying, hey, Trump, why don't you, instead of selling visas and citizenship, and you're literally selling the birth rights to from our children to any foreign investor who wants to come over here and buy it for $5 million, why don't you let the American people who want to leave sell their passports for $5 million? Because imagine if you had a wife and 2 kids, and each one of you guys could sell your passports for $5 million. How many people would not sell theirs? Yeah, Clint says, hell yeah, I would. In a heartbeat. Absolutely. So if everybody, most of us would. Okay, so John says, honestly, I would move to Ozarky and prepare for the fight that's coming. I don't know where Ozarky is, but hell yeah. I'm very much considering a move to El Salvador without 1 million. Yeah, DR. So it's like, I just don't know. It's hard, man. I have a hard time even talking to my family about it because they don't, my mom's a sheep. She drinks a lot of Diet Cokes every day, triple boosted. Go to work, get a good job. Don't talk about politics, religion, or money with your family. Pay your taxes. Be a good little obedient tax slave. Your government can do no wrong. They're here to help you. They would never poison the skies. They would never poison your food. Maybe they just made a few mistakes with the vaccine. They didn't really mean it, kind of thing. The Ozarks. Yeah, the Ozarks pretty cool place. I've seen that show. And it's interesting. Yeah, you could get off grid, but you can't stop them from poisoning your skies, man. And it's just like with this drone surveillance state, like thinking that you're going to go up against our government. People are like, well, do you have the ability to own guns in El Salvador? I'm like, yeah, actually I can do. I can buy 1 new gun per year. You start out with 1 gun, and then after 1 or 2 years, you can get your second and your third. There's probably a cap on it at some point, I would assume. But yes, you can own firearms on there. And they absolutely protect freedom of speech. And they protect your private property rights. And the best part about El Salvador is you don't have property taxes. And technically in America, you don't have capital gains tax until you sell an asset. So in El Salvador, if today you buy 5 acres for $50,000, and then it turns into the Singapore of the West, and your 5 acres turn into 5 million, well, you now have a $5 million asset that you're sitting on that you never have to pay taxes on. Theoretically, you could even lease out your land at that point if you really wanted to. You could lease it out to somebody who's willing to pay you in Bitcoin, because every single person that's going to be leasing a $5 million asset in El Salvador deals with Bitcoin. And you could accept payments in Bitcoin. You could keep that Bitcoin in a cold storage wallet that's offline that nobody even knows exists. Your government doesn't know you have. And you could be acquiring wealth without paying taxes on that wealth. And then whenever you get to a point and you want to say, fuck Uncle Sam, you get on a flight with some numbers in your head and you go to a country and you unlock your Bitcoin wallet with the hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars that you've acquired in wealth over the last 5 years leasing out your land. And then you have this piece of property that's worth $5 million. Do you understand? Like, choosing to stay in America and die a debt slave. I don't think I want to. I don't think anybody does. And I think every single day you're going to be waking up and there's going to be more and more of us. And they say this, they say that if like, what was the internet? Took us 20 years from like the 70s to the 90s to reach 5% adoption. And then from 1995 to 2000, we went from 5% adoption to like 95 or 97% adoption on the internet. You're watching that happen right now. And I think they say that if just 5 or 10% of Americans were to stop interacting with the US dollar and adopt the Bitcoin standard, just 5 to 10%, you have $40 trillion in debt being propped up by 100% of us tax slaves in America. Every time one of us tax slaves decides to stop being a tax slave and stops paying their taxes, the remaining people who still interact with tax slavery are holding up that $40 trillion in debt. Well, if just 5 or 10% of us decided to stop and decided to withdraw from that economy, the weight that would be put on the 90% would be so monumental that the system would implode on itself. And I think every day you're going to start to see more and more people doing what I did and deciding to make the move down to El Salvador. And once you make that move to El Salvador, you're free. And then just imagine, like, say over the next year, I bring down 100 people and you have 100 testimonials. I came down, did what Ryan Matta told me to do, and my life went from tax slave in America to I'm a successful entrepreneur in El Salvador working 40 hours a week. And that 40-hour work week supports a family of 5, this was the American dream. A single man could come to America with nothing more than a work ethic, and he could start a business or he could get a job. And with that job at a 40-hour work week, he could support a family of 5 on one income. You would have one vehicle, if not 2 vehicles. You would have a house that you own and on land that you own. Well, you don't ever really own it, right? You're always a tax slave to the government. They're always going to keep taxing you till you die. But theoretically, it's land that you own. You could take 1 to 2 vacations a year, and you still had money to set aside for your children's schooling on one income. You can't do that here in America. Now, you can't, I call it the El Salvadorian dream because you can't really do it in El Salvador yet because there's enough employment, but the wages are really bad. So a girl that goes to school for 4 years working to be a doctor, and then after 4 years, she starts her clinicals. And I'm pretty sure here in America, those nurses or doctors, if you will, that are doing their residency, those residencies are paid. Well, in El Salvador, they're not. So it takes about 7 years of going to school to be a doctor. And at that 7-year mark, once you kind of graduate, before you start going to school to be your specialty, which is like a plastic surgeon, a heart surgeon, a brain surgeon, whatever the case may be, her wage is going to be $500 a month, a doctor. Now, her boyfriend's an engineer, and he's an engineer in like one of these factories. Pretty smart dude, like pretty high up as an engineer, been it for like 3 or 4 years at the same company. $900 a month is his salary. So you can't go to El Salvador right now and get a job that's going to allow you to chase the American dream. It'll allow you to live and survive, but probably not much better of a standard of living than you're living here in America. But I do think as time goes on, every week, every month, every day, every year, I'm seeing the pay scale. I'm seeing companies forced to pay people over 40% over minimum wage, because if they don't, there are so many jobs that are being created in El Salvador that if you're not paying them 40% above minimum wage, they'll just go across the street and get another job because they can get one like this. Even the maids, even the housekeepers, even the drivers, their salaries are exponentially going up because they have no choice, because if they don't, somebody else will. And you're even seeing foreigners come in, and a foreigner's like, I can get a personal driver in El Salvador, somebody to drive me everywhere I want to go, whenever I want to go. They show up, they'll work 48 hours a week, roughly to 52 hours a week for like $575. So imagine, the worst part about El Salvador is you have to sit in traffic if you're going in and out of the city, sometimes an hour and a half, 2 hours, in rush hour to go, it would take you 30 minutes at night. But if you have a driver, and like, for example, I create social media content online, right? Am I going to waste 2 hours a day driving? How many videos can I make in a 2-hour period? It's probably like 10 to 12, honestly. So that's 10 to 12 to work and 20 to 12 from wherever I'm going. I will be able to make $575 a month if I just hire a driver, if not exponentially more. So it's a no-brainer for me just to hire a driver. And then I get all my free time back and I can use that time to make more money. That's what I'm saying. Rich people, they don't do their laundry. They don't cut their grass. They don't make their food. Because in El Salvador, you can pay people to do all those things for you. So it's just like, I don't know. I just think that there's so much opportunity down there. But what you can do at chasing the El Salvador dream is you can go to El Salvador and you can start a business. So if you own a construction company, like I paid an electrician $15,000 to wire up my 1-bedroom home. And it wasn't like they were putting outlets everywhere and doing all this crazy shit. It was putting a few electrical panels in and wiring up a 1-bedroom house. And it was 15 grand. The tile work to do my bathroom, same thing. It was pretty much the same cost as it is here in America. So I'm going down, I'm starting a construction company because I can charge the same rates that basically they charge here in America, and I can get labor at a fraction of the cost. I'll be able to pay my laborers probably 2 to 3 times minimum wage. So they make, let's say they make $500 or $600 a week now or a month now. I'll pay them $1,500 a month. My business will still be thriving. I'll increase their standard of living by 3x. I'll have the most loyal employees on the planet who will bust their back for me, and we can all win together. And I think that's kind of the El Salvadorian dream right now for me anyways, is I have this opportunity to go to a country, start a business, build something that I'll only have to work 40 hours a week, and I can pretty much support a family of 5 off the income that it'll generate. And I look here in America, do you think I could start a tile business here in America and work 40 hours a week and support a family of 5? I don't. Unless I somehow became the best and the biggest. There's just too much competition. There's not enough opportunity. And the tax I have to pay, giving my government 50 to 70% of every penny I make, doesn't seem feasible. It doesn't seem doable. So that's kind of where I'm at. Ever notice how you can talk about money, politics, or religion? It's easier just to say, don't talk about Jewish industry. Yeah, Clinton, you got that right, brother. It's crazy. Watching people like Tyler Oliveira, I think it's been really eye-opening to a lot of people. It's like the dude talked about gangbangers. He dogged on the Indians. He dogged on the blacks. He dogged on the whites. He dogged on everybody. And then magically one day he goes and finds, the chosen people doing the exact same thing, if not 100 times worse than everybody else. And he makes one video of it and he's nuked off the internet. Kind of bizarre, but trust me, they don't control everything, right? But let's keep this party going. AI data centers. Think of AI servers as a massive machine where living beings, as they work, they heat up. Just like a running person sweats. When these machines get thirsty, they are given water, not to drink, but to cool down. Cold water flows through pipes, touches their metal bodies, and carries the heat away. This way, the servers cool down and become ready to process again. From the outside, it looks like a giant system is sipping water. What's actually happening is the water cools their bodies, not their brains. So AI drinks water is really cooling ritual to keep enormous machines from overheating. You'll never sell me on my own surveillance. Check this out.
Listen to this.
Welcome to the year 2055, where the AI server farms are draining water. Water is no longer our right, it's a product. You don't fetch water, you scan for it. Drinking water became more expensive because of the unavailability. Hidden near these dried rivers stand monstrous AI server farms, pulling millions of liters daily. In the slums, people burn plastic waste to boil drain water just to survive. A smart water ATM scans your face to decide if you deserve water today. If access denied, try again tomorrow.
It's actually called Day Zero. Now, Day Zero is a moment when the water supply gets so low that governments have to shut off access to regular tap water. There's a danger that nobody's talking about, but it's going to hit harder than anything this decade. The world could run out of water. Remember, we're in the biggest tech transformation in history, and tech needs water. AI and data centers need water. Now, this is a serious threat, but it could be a huge opportunity. There's a reason why people like Bill Gates, Richard Branson, and other billionaires are investing in water. Now, here's 5 ways to invest in water. You have water ETFs, PHO, FIW, both give you exposure to the entire ecosystem. Number 2, you got water utilities, AWK, WTRG, both predictable, essential demand. Then you have infrastructure, filtration, desalination, pipelines. These are the pick and shovels of the water ecosystem. You have water tech, companies that are solving purification and recycling. Now, by the time everybody figures this out, it's going to be too late. Follow me for more on the future of money, resources, and how to position your investment.
Yeah, listen.
I'll probably get this. I was going to let that clip from that movie play Hangover, but I figured that might get us censored, right? Be thankful you get to fund Lakewood, Goy. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, John. Especially with the adoption of Bitcoin, I think there's a ton of opportunity here. I predict things will have an upward trend. Hopping on early could be very good. Yeah, Bitcoin's going to go. I don't even know. I think we're sitting at 80,670 as we speak right now. I still think we're headed to 90,000, 95,000 right now. I've been saying this since we were down at 60, that we were going to see our rally. And I was screaming so hard for everybody to buy at 60, because if you didn't buy at 60 and you thought it was going lower, and then it hits 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, your brain starts, it's hard for your brain to remember that it's probably going to come back down and crash back down to 50. But it just keeps going up, and then everybody starts talking. Everybody starts getting excited. Your grandma starts texting you again. Should I buy more Bitcoin? Should I buy more Bitcoin? 85, 90. And then you say, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not going to be paying 100 for this thing. I'm just going to buy it at 90. Then it hits 95, and you're like, yeah, I did the right thing. The next day, it falls off a cliff and free falls down to 40. This thing's a scam. I'm never buying Bitcoin again. You get pissed off and you go away. And that's how most people get wrecked in Bitcoin. I don't know how we get out of this, guys. Like, I don't know. Americans right now, let's just take a look at some trends. Let's play a game, shall we? Think about a Google trend that you think would be at all-time highs. How's my audio? Is my audio not as loud as the videos? Because I feel like I should turn my mic up for you guys. I feel like when I'm playing the clips, it's not going to be as loud, but I don't know. Let me know what you guys, my audio is okay over here, because I feel like when I'm playing the clips are way louder than me. But let's play Google Trends, shall we? We'll jump and do this one together. Let me actually just throw myself up here on the screen. I feel like when you guys can't see me, it's not as fun. All right, we'll play Google Trends. I gotta add a video capture. Cam 2 coming in hot. Here we go. Let's search at some Google Trends and see how real cooked the economy is, shall we? Let's do Google Trends. Let's say, I got to get myself move a little bit more down. Hold on one second. Let me readjust my position here real quick. Let's just say, like, how to cash out. That's probably not a good sign. It's at least hit a trend in the last 24 hours. Let's do like the last 5 years, shall we? Okay, at some point in 2023, it was hitting all-time highs. Again, in July of 2025, all-time highs. Not too bad right now. Let's change this again to try to modify these searches a little bit. Cash out 401k. Let's do how to file for bankruptcy. That ain't good, folks. That normally ain't a good sign. When how to file for bankruptcy is at a 5-year all-time high on Google Trends, and it continues to accelerate, you probably can have a good idea that your country ain't headed in the right direction. Your economy ain't headed in the right direction. Who's got a few more over here in the live chat? What else can we search? How many car payments? How many car payments can I miss? Interest over time, I don't know. Oh. Wow. Well, in June and July of 2005, it was a high search term. There's just, you think of good search terms that like Behind on car payment. It's getting up there. I mean, December 31 of 2025, a little bit of a downtrend right now. We're peaking back up right here at a 94 out of 100 as far as an all-time high. If you just search specific search phrases over here on Google Trends, that would give you an idea of like how bad our things are. Behind on credit card payments. Same thing that would have been, oh, that's in 2026. That's recent. There you go. Behind on credit card payments, February 28th to March 31st of 2026, that was just a few months ago, was at a record all-time high. And I keep asking people, like, all of the warning signs are there. What is another one? How to file bankruptcy. Will they repo my car? November, December of 2025 at an all-time high. It's just like, it's hard to find a search term. Yeah, where can I get free food? Yeah. There you go again. November of 2025, so probably more so towards the winter months, 100%. Right before the holidays, November timeframe, Thanksgiving, Christmas, all-time high. And right now we're sitting at today, or in April, 77 out of 100. Yeah. Closest food bank. Food bank near me. Oh, yeah. There you go, buddy. John, you nailed that one, brother. Good call on that. I might take a screenshot of that one. Food bank near me at all-time high. Okay, homeless shelter near me. We found one that was wasn't at an all-time high. I guess people aren't really ready to get to a shelter yet. They're saying, fuck it, I still got my car that hasn't been repossessed. I'm gonna shave off the VIN number and I'm gonna remove my license plate and I'm gonna go park my car somewhere. They ain't getting that motherfucker. I ain't going to a shelter. Okay, so shelters, don't worry. You guys got nothing to worry about the shelters. That's pretty bad, ain't it? That's pretty fucked up. That's how people are probably thinking. That's how I'd be thinking. Oh, and here's another really interesting fun fact that I just learned, right? Your credit score in America only matters in America. The second you leave America, you get a whole new credit score. So if you're one of these Americans who's done very well with your credit score, but things are getting tight and money's getting tight, and you've done so well that you could probably go get $100,000 or $200,000 in cash advances out on your credit cards right now. I'm not telling you to break the law or do anything crazy, but theoretically, you could take that cash and go to El Salvador. And just, if you don't plan on ever coming back to America or you're ever going to need your credit score in America again, I mean, if it was me, I would personally love to send these credit card companies a big middle finger and walk away with all of the money and interest I've paid them back over the last 100 years, or over the last 100 years, like I'm 100 years old, over the last 20 or 30 years. I've seen a lot of people, it's been a TikTok trend of people going, yeah, I'm maxing out. I just opened up a $10,000 credit card, a $10,000 credit card. If you do them all in the same day before your credit gets fucked, and there's a lot of credit cards out there that you can open. If you got good credit and the ability to get $10,000 cards with cash advances, you should be able to get 10 cards in a 24-hour period for the most part, you know? And then a lot of people just go and they just max those suckers out and they go and buy themselves a flight with one of them, cash advance the rest of it, maybe even put down a year's worth of rent on a place somewhere in a third world country, because you can do that through apps. You got a place to live. You got $100,000 in cash. Hell, you could probably even buy a new car in a third world country if you really wanted to on a credit card, not going to lie. So I think there's options out there for the people that really want to escape this and give it a shot in a third world country. And then I just tell them, right? Like all you have to do is figure out how to make $2,500 a month online, guys. if you already have an eBay store, and that's, I mean, you could start a drop shipping business. I remember when I was working in the automotive industry, when I was a controls engineer, and I was doing the side hustle thing. I had an eBay business, and I was actually shipping products on eBay. I was buying them in bulk from China and shipping them. And then I realized some of the cell phone chargers that I was getting on Amazon, or I was selling on eBay, and I was buying in bulk from China, that those same exact cell phone chargers were being sold on Amazon. And then I realized when somebody ordered one, if I ran out, I could just go on to Amazon and I could order it, and I could ship it over, and I could ship it directly to the customer that ordered it from me. And if something was wrong with it and they wanted to return with it, all eBay makes you do is send them a return label. So I would just go onto Amazon and I would say, item not as described. I'd get a free shipping label and I'd send it over to the customer, and they would send it back into Amazon. I'd get my refund and I'd give them a refund instantly. It was like a win-win. Max out the credit cards on Bitcoin. That would be interesting if you could do that. I mean, you could definitely take out a cash advance and then go put it all in Bitcoin, and you could buy Bitcoin for cash from somebody. In El Salvador, I mean, you can do it in America, right? America will rip you off. You know, I walked into the mall the other day and they had these crypto machines in the mall, like these Bitcoin ATMs. Bitcoin was like 80 something thousand. And they were like, oh, we'll sell you Bitcoin right now at like $67,000. And I'm like, or Bitcoin was 67,000 or something like that. And they were trying to sell it to me for 80,000. That's crazy. In El Salvador, Bitcoin's like 103,100. And then they're selling it to you for like 103,000. There's like a little tiny $100 spread. It's like 0.0001% or something like that. But these ATMs here suck. In El Salvador, you can walk up to they have these Satoshi vending machines, because there's two different types of Bitcoin. There's Lightning Bitcoin, and then there's on-chain Bitcoin. Lightning Bitcoin, you can use instantaneous. It's like as fast as a credit card. On-chain Bitcoin, it's more secure. I don't even know if it's more secure. They say it is. It's, if you want to send large transactions, you should send it on-chain. You shouldn't be doing it on the Lightning Network. But you can just walk up to an ATM, put $100 in the ATM. It'll create a QR code on the screen, and you scan the QR code, and it shoots the Bitcoin right over to your phone instantly. So yeah, you can just sit there and $100, $100, $100, $100, and put thousands of dollars in Bitcoin on your phone, just like that with cash. You could find somebody like me in El Salvador. They have Bitcoin meetups all the time. So if you ever need cash or you want cash for your Bitcoin, you just go to one of these El Salvador meetups, and you got people that are like, oh yeah, I need 1,000. I need 5,000. Like, okay, cool. I need $5,000 in Bitcoin. Just simple transaction over the counter, OTC it. It's easy, really easy. And I don't know where we're headed with this. And then you have politicians like Byron Donalds, right? And I find it hard to believe that anybody's like, yep, Byron Donalds is my fighter. He's been an absolute yes man. He's never stood up to Israel. He's never really held ground on any major issue outside of licking Trump's anal. This guy I'm going to vote for over James Fishback. And this is how Byron Donalds said it. So my friend Script Keeper Elect goes by Script Keeper 17 on X. He says Byron Donalds AI data centers are big payouts.
We're not going to sugarcoat this. Building Byron Donalds and Wilton Simps for developers are anti-Floridian candidates who should not be in office. Let's start with Byron Donalds. He is friends of all these AI data center people. He has money that he's getting from developers. He has said repeatedly that the problem with Florida is we haven't streamlined the development. And just yesterday, he posted again about burdensome regulations, which, yes, if a developer thinks that we're a burden because we're trying to preserve this refuge here or a part of the Everglades that's not to be developed, so what? It's going to be burdensome. Those need to stay. He will pave over more of the Everglades. He'll pave over your springs. He'll take farmland and put it in the AI data center. He has said nothing actually critical about what's going on. He's only said we're going to preserve the Everglades, the easiest moniker for any politician to say. And I have some credible sources who tell me that Byron Donalds has been antagonist to the WERP, the Western Everglades Restoration Project. So trust me, he is no friend to this. And no matter what he says, don't listen to him about wild Florida. He does not care. If he did, he would not be taking money. He would be saying the right things. He'd have a past record, which I'd like to mention, Ron DeSantis. He's been a very favorable governor for most of Floridians. Of course, he could have been way better on the environment, but many Floridians like him. And he's even said, Byron Donalds, he talks all this stuff, but has he gotten the results for Floridians? And no, he's maybe had some rants about the trans bathrooms or whatever and fighting that in DC, but besides that, he's not really done much for Florida, and certainly wild Florida. But let's get on to Wilton Simps for developers. First of all, he has helped develop huge chunks of Polk County. Simpson is not a rustic Floridian who is all for agriculture and for riding the ranch. No, he has helped develop huge tracts. He's a threat to wild Florida. And even just recently, he got a conservation award somehow. And Ronnie Barretto, and Joshua Kellum were also pictured there. Two of the most developer FWC commissioners there are. All just chatting about in the same club, being there together, and that should speak for itself. And I want to add, you should vote for Matt the Welder. If you're a Democrat, change your party so you can vote for Matt the Welder in the primary. And same for James Fishback. Byron Downs cannot be the acclaimed GOP frontrunner and take the governor's seat in Florida because that will be a Republican-decided election.
I don't know, guys. It doesn't seem like any of these politicians give a shit about us. And I tell everybody, I've been down in El Salvador. El Salvador is a small country, so you have, and this is the definition of a third world country to me, is you have an elite class and then you have a poor class. There's very little middle class in between. So if you aren't in the poverty-stricken class, then you're pretty much in the elite class. If you make $2,500 a month to $5,000 a month, you're very close. You're probably in the middle class, but like right on the verge of being on the elite class. Like you'll still rub shoulders. You'll still go out to eat. You'll still be at places where they're at. You'll shop at the same places they shop at. The billionaires and the millionaires that I'm around in El Salvador have completely changed my perspective on reality because they don't give a shit, guys. They're going to win no matter what, right? If AI data centers come into America and they completely destroy America, these billionaires are going to become so profitable, they literally will just leave and go to any other country. And when you're a billionaire and you're going into any country, I don't want to say what they call accredited investor, but you're very valuable specifically to these third world countries because they want your money because how much opportunity your wealth can create in their country for their citizens. So let's just use Tony Robbins for an example. And I don't think he's a bad guy. I think Tony Robbins seems to be like, out of all the dirtbag billionaires out there, this one guy seems like a decent dude. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm paying attention recently, but I usually listen to all his motivational speeches. And this is on Joe Rogan Podcast News. He said, Tony Robbins, he said, I bought a power plant in West Virginia because I saw what was happening with AI coming and the need for data centers. That investment's return is ridiculous.
What's been your best financial investment?
Single best financial investment? I think probably I bought a power plant in West Virginia because I saw what was happening with AI coming and the need for data centers. And it was a coal power plant that they were shutting down, and I saved all the jobs, and that investment's returns ridiculous.
How did you find that?
Because I'm always studying the trends, right? Again, you're not going to do anything unless you become a student.
Point in case, right? The billionaires reality doesn't happen to these people. They don't operate in the same universe we do, right? When you become so powerful that when things happen and you don't like them, you pick up a phone call and you say, connect me to the president of Argentina, connect me to the president of Guatemala. When you have that much power and you've invested that much in specific countries where when things happen and you don't like them or something happens to you or your family and you can pick up a phone and say, put the president on the line. And within like seconds, the president's answering your call and you're literally chewing out and screaming at the president. I met somebody that did this. I was just so shocked at the reality, right? Like we go through the airport and we get stopped and frisked or whatever. They tear apart our luggage and then whatever, anything bad happens to you. Nobody gives a shit. You're just a little peasant tax slave. Move on, pay your taxes, shut your mouth. Something happens to them and it's like, these people are untouchable. They operate and they live in a different universe than us. Like I said, they don't cut their grass. They don't cut their lawn. And I like cutting my lawn, right? But You know, there's times where if I don't feel like it, I would like to be able to just, one day I'm gonna cut the lawn today, and I'm just gonna go cut it because I feel like cutting the lawn, right? I don't want to have to cut the lawn. I don't have to do my dishes. I don't have to do my laundry. I don't have to do anything that I don't, that I just feel like are like Zuckerberg used to say that he used to wear the same clothing all the time, the same outfit. Because your brain only has the ability to process so many logical decisions in a day. So when you wake up in the morning, it's like, what color socks do I want to wear? What shoes am I going to wear? What pants? What shirt? What jacket? What undershirt? What underwear? All of these decisions, right? Before you even get your clothes on for the day, you've burnt through 25, 50, or 100 logical decisions that you could have made. And if you don't have to think about those things, I don't want to, if you don't have to think about doing the dishes or doing the cutting the grass, or imagine how much more you can use your brain to focus on the important things, which should be figuring out how to generate more wealth, how to put your family in a better position tomorrow than they were today. They don't do those things like we do. So it's just like we're trapped in this 9 to 5 rat race, and you see that the gap between the divide between the rich and poor exponentially going at a rate, right? And when they're close, you have this crossover. Like, you know, if you draw the circles, and the farther the circles get apart, the less that gap in the middle is crossing over. How do I do that? You know, you got two circles, you know, you got the two circles there, and there's that gap in the middle when they're really close. So when the gap between the wealthy and the poor is really close, it's not there. But as those gaps get separate, that gap in the middle being the middle class, it tends to evaporate. And we're like at the point where that like in America, where there's just like a little crack, right? There's a little tiny hole left there where the middle class is still hanging on by a thread. And you can go in either direction right now. I don't even know if you can go in either direction. You know, if this was 4 years ago under Biden, when I really started to pay attention to it, I thought to myself then, 4 years ago, that maybe I got 4 years left, because I didn't think Trump was going to get back into office. I thought they were going to rig the election. I didn't realize the whole plan was to install Trump, and Trump was going to carry on the Obama era agenda of never-ending wars, constantly being at war, constantly being over in the Middle East, constantly burning our tax dollars, constantly increasing our debt, constantly strengthening the gap between the rich and the poor. You know, he promises this was going to be Main Street's term. This was going to be Main Street's 4 years. It wasn't Main Street's 4 years. It wasn't even close. This has been Wall Street's most profitable year ever. And that gap is getting so far. So I tell everybody, well, what should I do? I said, you got to go move back in with your parents. Quit drinking, quit smoking, quit eating out. Figure out how to adapt a diet that you can still eat in this hellhole for, you know, under $5 to $10 a day. And I'm talking a day, whether that's peanut butter and jellies, as much as it sucks, ramen, processed garbage food. Like, I mean, it's like you're going to destroy your health to increase your wealth. And then hopefully you increase your wealth at a rate that you can buy your health back. It's pretty much gotten that bad. Because if you don't get yourself out of that rat race now, once that gap breaks, like, I don't think that there's ever going to be a point where 0.01% of the El Salvadorians that are in poverty right now will ever make it into that elite level. Now, they might make it into the middle class, which is great, because Bukele's not trying to exponentially divide those. Bukele's actually trying to bridge those. So when your government is actually working in the opposite direction, I do think that people in poverty will make it to the middle class. Versus here in America, where you have this opposite divide taking place, where if you don't make it out of from the middle class now into the elite realm, I don't think there's ever going to be an opportunity, at least for the next 5 to 10, maybe 15 years, maybe even Elon's right, where you end up with like robots do everything. There's so much wealth, there's so much food, there's so much prosperity that everybody at least has the ability to live a decent life, and you don't have to work like a slave to do so. I don't see that happening, but maybe it does, and you end up making it back into the middle class someday. But I think if you don't do it now, and I would be willing to make whatever sacrifice was necessary to do it, like, I don't want to up and leave my family behind. I have a massive family here in America. I'm always coming back and seeing them, right? Like, I made the move. I haven't even really made the move full time yet. I'm still constantly back and forth, visiting my family, picking up supplies, grabbing this, bringing that back. And it's like, but soon, by June, I will be down there pretty much full time. So, like, I don't want to necessarily do that. I didn't want to do that. I would love to stay here and fight for my country, but I just kept banging my head against the wall. And then now you're watching people do that do what I do, And if this was going to be my living here in America, I wouldn't be able to do it before I'm getting sued and bankrupted. Like Candace Owens has, she's probably making $15,000 to $25,000 an episode. Some maybe even upwards of higher than that with their sponsorships. Super chats, for Mitch, that one day they raised like $100,000 for Mitch. I've made 7 documentaries and barely raised $100,000. Okay. She did it for some dude on the internet that nobody's ever heard of that has a criminal record of beating his wife and is a whole bunch of other shady shit. And she raised like $120,000 for Mitch in one episode. That's power. So, Candace could say, hey, I need to go file a lawsuit against the Daily Wire. Who wants to help fund it? And we'd all jump in, $10, $10, and $10. And next thing you know, she'd have $100,000 to go hire an attorney. Where you have people like Kyle Seraphin, who got hit with the lawsuit from Kash Patel's side chick, or the country music sensation, redact that first part. And he's facing a $5 million lawsuit. Same with Sam Parker. And Sam Parker's just a regular guy. He works a 9-to-5 job, and he doesn't have the money. Kyle Seraphin, just to attempt to get that lawsuit dismissed, I think was like 20 or 30 grand. Elijah Schaefer, because of how big he was and the things that he was saying and all these other things, I think he was like 100 grand in just to attempt to get the case dismissed. And he just shared like a photo of a tweet. He didn't even put any words in it. These slap lawsuits. I'm like, not today, Satan. I'm not going to sit here and build a business in America and work another. I already did that once. I've actually did that twice now. 2 times I made myself a millionaire, or got right on the verge of it happening. And then the government snatched it all away from me. The last time was my clothing business. Worked 2 jobs, went to school, became an engineer, put money in my 401k, started a side hustle, turned the side hustle into a legit business, scaled a legit business to doing $125,000 a month on sales on Amazon. And I was getting to the point where I could automate that business to the point where I'd work 4 hours a week. And I could bring home clearing easy $65,000 a month. I was doing $125,000 a month in sales in the worst 3 to 4 months of the year. We were getting ready to kick off festival season in 2020 when they shut down, the government shut down mass public gatherings. And I had an EDM clothing line. So I sold, bikinis, crop tops, fans, face masks, like the dust face mask style face mask, pasties, glow in the dark wands and flashlights and all this crazy shit, hats, everything that you'd wear to basically a pool party. Well, they shut down mass public gatherings. And we had no end in sight. 2 weeks to slow down the curve. 2 weeks turned into a month, 2 months. And Amazon has this thing where you can only keep inventory stocked in their warehouse for 6 months. Then you have to pull it off shelf because they don't want to store your shit if it ain't selling. Well, all my shit wasn't selling because nobody had any place to go to use it. So long story short, they destroyed my business that I spent 4 years building. So it's just like, I don't want to spend another 4 years building this business again. I already did it with YouTube. Then I left that and I said, okay, let's do it on YouTube. And I did it with Bitcoin. And then they said, oh, Andrew Tate, you put out a video of Andrew Tate saying Bitcoin's a better investment than a house. We're going to demonetize your channel. And I was just like, mother effer. And that propelled me into politics. And here we are today. And now the idea of doing it all over again at, say, in my 40s, I just don't have it in me, guys. I've been doing this for 12 fucking years, 7 days a week, 365, relentlessly working my ass off, trying to escape the matrix since my son was born. And I remember promising him, like, son, like one day I will get us out of this rat race. No matter what I have to do, no matter what I have to sacrifice, no matter how much energy I have to put in, no matter how much sleep I have to give up on, I will make sure that you never grow up living the 9-to-5 rat race slave life that I've grew up in. And yeah, here we are. And El Salvador, I think, is my only last shot at it. I have to protect my wealth and I have to get the fuck out of this country because if I don't, they'll bankrupt me and sue me for it. And I just don't have the ability to start over again in my 40s. So this government, the lawfare, the justice system, they've left me with no choice, unfortunately. I got to do what's best for my son and my future family, and it's not here in America. And I think that I won't be the only one coming to that conclusion in a very short period of time. But the wealthiest people, you see like Tony Robbins, he doesn't care if they're going to build AI data centers. He's going to profit from them. Whether it's investing in the data center, whether it's selling the land that the data centers are building on, whether it's buying the energy power plant, whether it's buying a company that produces all the chips, whether it's doing this or that or that or this. These billionaires are all going to get rich as hell in the process. They'll move their investments out of things like Kohl's and JCPenney and, Dairy Queen and Dollar General. And they'll funnel those billions and millions of dollars into AI data centers and infrastructure companies and water utility companies. Meanwhile, us slaves will watch our 401ks probably go down and down and down, or they'll keep pace at 10%, but the dollar's losing 12%. So really, we're not even keeping our heads above water. And I think that's the future for this country, guys. I'm only 21. I was taking computer science in high school when I realized it was already a dying field. Black pilled me on the economy early on. Now the job market is on life support. It's fucked, is it not? It's so fucked, guys. It really is. That's why I don't do podcasts anymore, because it's just like, it's slow. It's so fucking black pilling. I even said today I was going to try to be happy and optimistic and not go down these rants, but I just can't help myself. So I feel like the only thing I can do is just give you guys the best, like, try to open your eyes and say, okay, like, I need to relentlessly buckle down. If I'm in my 30s, if I'm in my 40s, like, I got one more shot at this and I don't want to die in this matrix. And the only way, and Andrew Tate, as much as people hate the guy, he's been right about it. He's like, you screaming on the internet, you spending 4 hours a night in a Twitter space or doing this or that, it's not going to change your life. You're not going to beat the machine. You got to actually get out there and make money, make yourself filthy rich, and make sure that your family has everything they need, because nobody gives a fuck about us. Nobody's coming to save us. You got to save yourselves. We'll wrap it up on that, guys. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. I know that we didn't have a big stream tonight. This is the first time streaming on this channel. And I appreciate you guys for showing up and hanging out with me. Hopefully you guys have a great night. We'll catch you guys in the next one. We out. Peace.
Run.